Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening from whichever time zones you all are joining from. Thanks for showing up today for this great webinar. So I hope you all are having a fantastic day till time. Today we'll kickstart with a very exciting topic for the today, which is future trends, Gen AI, and the evolution of the insurance industry. We all are really excited to have all of you here. So let me begin by introducing myself and AI Course Spot to you. My name is Nitin Naveen. I'm Vice President of Innovation and Strategy at AI Course Spot. I have around a couple of decades of experience in different consulting firms, and I've dealt with a lot of emerging technologies. So I feel fortunate to consistently engage with numerous stakeholders, global leaders, and their incredible problem solving and innovative ideas. Joining me today are a couple of my colleagues. One of them you can see right here is Erwin, and one of them is Naveen, who is at the back end and will add some energy to this event. So big applause to them for their dedication and hard work to bring this event in shape. Now, let me tell you something about our company, AI Course Spot. It was founded around 4 years back, and it was created to serve as a knowledge hub, focusing on different emerging technologies like AI, ML, robotics, IoT, and much more. Our webinars aim to share the latest technological advancements in the industry. We dive into various tech sectors, unveiling a fresh theme every month and steadily gaining momentum. Our goal as a platform is to become the leading AI-driven community worldwide, where individuals like you with similar interests can contribute to mutual growth and success. We are committed to organizing industry-backed webinars and hybrid events, grounding our knowledge through credible data which we receive from our esteemed industry leaders, our thought leaders, subject matter experts, and all our trusted partners. Additionally, we fine-tune our content across various digital platforms which we have, which includes blogs, videos, podcasts, and a monthly newsletter which sheds light on the ever-evolving industry. Now coming about today's webinar for which you all are here for. As I said in the beginning, a really exciting topic is up for today, which is unlocking potential Gen AI in the insurance industry. Our speakers will provide details and deep dive into few topics like personalized UX experience, chatbots, claim processing, risk assessment, prompt engineering, and a lot more, which will be going around in the insurance industry. Our expert panels will share valuable insights and engage in great discussions that you won't want to miss out. So let's kick off the discussion with some quick highlights. Meet our community partners for today. We have 4 great companies, which include New York Life Insurance Company Limited, then we have Northwestern Mutual, then we have InfoVision, and then we have AIG, who played a crucial role in making this webinar a success. Also, big thanks to all our attendees. Your time and presence means important to us. We appreciate your being here to achieve your goals and connect with the fellow participants. Our platform's main goal is to help you gain valuable insights and build meaningful relationships. So if you leave with a few innovative ideas or build new connections, we'll consider it a job well done. Now, let me introduce our esteemed speakers for today. Our first speaker is Abhijit Rai, who is Senior Director, Software Product Management and Strategy at New York Life Insurance Company. Our second speaker is Adnan Halim. He is Senior Director of Engineering at Northwestern Mutual. Our third speaker is Srivatsan Srinivasan, who is Vice President Technical Architecture, Generative AI at AIG. And fourth speaker and moderator for the event is Vijay Gajwani, who is AVP and handles insurance at InfoVision. Just one line disclaimer before we start. The views shared by all the speakers are their personal ones, and it's not related to any organization which they represent for. So now over to you, Vijay, to begin this exciting panel discussion.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you, Nitin. I would like to start by extending a big thank you to our amazing panelists for their time and, of course, to all of you for joining us today. We got an exciting session ahead on a cutting-edge topic, future trends, generative AI, and evolution of the insurance industry. I know we all are eager to dive in, so let's get started. Technology is transforming industries at an incredible pace. And to kick off our session, let's dive into one of the key questions. How are emerging technologies, recent advancements, and innovative applications in generative AI reshaping the insurance sector? And Adnan, would you like to start by sharing your thoughts?
Absolutely. Thanks a lot, Vijay. And very good morning to all of you who've made it into this conference. Very excited to share my thoughts. And I will reiterate what Arvind had said. These are basically, my collective experiences and just kind of sharing them freely. So I think when it comes to use of emerging technologies in insurance, and you spoke about Gen AI, I think the way I look at it is you look at AI, and there are two flavors of that. Think about traditional AI versus Gen AI. Traditional AI, predictive modeling, and the use of that in the insurance and financial sector has been there for a while. And the use cases can be seen along the value chain. Start from underwriting straight through processing to servicing, to claims auto adjudication, to claim segmentation. Use of predictive modeling in the insurance industry has been there for a while. But when it comes to Gen AI, which is generative AI, where AI generates new content, audio, video, text, the use cases are kind of still emerging. And the way I look at it is I look at it from two lenses, kind of two dimensions. The first dimension is what is the real capability pattern that Gen AI offers? And then what can we really do with those capability patterns, like especially in the insurance industry? So when it comes to these capability patterns, I at a very high level see like four broad capability patterns. The first one of them, and probably the most commonly used, is summary or summarization. You think about the insurance industry, there is still a lot of paper, a lot of unstructured data going back and forth, information getting shared in emails or documents, medical reports, and so on and so forth. And summarization, which is taking these large, long documents and summarizing them, is one capability, and a lot of use cases around that. The next kind of builds upon summarization, which is synthesis. Is now that we can summarize, large documents, can we synthesize them and offer some perspectives on those documents? So the next one is really building upon summarization, is synthesis. The next one, which is probably we as consumers are the most familiar with, is I call it as a Q&A pattern. Chat GPT, ask any question,
Yeah.
so the Q&A pattern, and the way this is kind of showing up is you limit the Q&A to your context, and people can ask questions and get very relevant answers. And the last capability pattern is more around translation, and a lot of that translation is really used not not necessarily in the financial services or insurance sector. It could be like, converting legacy code to modern code. It could be taking complex regulations and simplifying their language and maybe writing some how-to documents around that. So four key patterns: summary, synthesis, Q&A, translate. And now how do we actually use these, and what are the outcomes that we can potentially drive from these patterns? Are the most common one and the most impactful one at this point is really improving efficiency. Is how do we place these capabilities next to the knowledge worker, and not really in place of the knowledge worker, but we place these next to the knowledge worker, that makes them a lot more efficient. And use cases would be typically, your co-pilots of the world, this context specific search, the Q&A that I was talking about. So improving efficiency is kind of one big outcome that we're going after. The next is improving experiences. So the use cases are still a little lesser than improving experiences, improving efficiency, but improving experiences is typical shapes will take is like a chat bot, where you can expose the chat bot directly to the end consumer. Um, and then lastly is around managing risk, and managing risk, a little bit in the compliance space, where think about variable products, FINRA compliance regulations, and having to supervise interaction between agents and the clients. This technology can really be used to create efficiency. So in summary, four
Great.
patterns, three use
Yeah.
cases: summarize, synthesize, Q&A, translate. improve efficiency, improve experiences, manage risk. And that's the framework that
Great,
I see that.
great insights, Adnan and Abhijit. Sri, if you can share your thoughts on the same, how you see
Yeah,
these recent advancements.
yeah. I mean, a couple of advancement with the vision is, there are few use cases where the insurance providers are now trying to automate claim processing. Rather than a human moderating things, they first send all the claim proofs, the photos or anything else to the system, creating a confidence score out of the system. And only when the confidence score is out of a set boundary, a human is involved. Note that generative AI itself is not autonomous. It's a system. Any use case you talk about, you implement about, you don't ignore the human in the loop aspect of it. So human in the loop is always there, but still, trying to expedite the summarization. If you take underwriting, underwriting involves a lot of risk assessments. You need to pull data from corpus of information coming from different channels. There used to be like weeks or even months for underwriters to collect them, to provide manually the risk assessment for a customer. Right now all those things could be summarized in minutes, and in terms of saying that, hey, this is what the system feels based on all the data that it could summarize. So it's still evolving. Right now, in the hype curve, Gen AI, we are riding on the overinflated peak of the hype curve. So we are trying to poke Gen AI in every single use case at the moment.
Right.
There's going to be like a plateau wherein we'll know that this is the right use case. But up until then, it's just all you can eat buffet over there. You can try any use case and see what goes on over there.
Right, Abhijit.
Well said, sorry, Adnan and Shri. Adnan, thanks for putting that framework together. I think for everybody, that's very helpful to understand, like, where are the capabilities. Of course, the depth of each of those capabilities and how they apply to insurance varies. I would just like to add the fact that the other part which is going to shape the insurance industry is the regulation part of it. Yes, experiences will improve. Yes, the way insurance business is done, it does improve. And before I go further, I have to say, all views are my own, not my company's. I think Nitin already mentioned it, but I'm supposed to say that same thing. So yes, the business is going to improve. There is going to be top line benefit to the business. There is going to be bottom line benefit to the business in terms of operational efficiencies. There is going to be immeasurable benefit to the customer experience on how they buy the product and how they interact with the financial product, the complex financial product that is insurance. But more importantly, it will also be shaped by how the regulation evolves. And I think that is something we have to keep an eye on, because depending on how regulations catch up with what is happening in the insurance industry with respect to AI and Gen AI, things will change. We see a bright and big future, but that future may be either curved or reshaped based on what regulators think is best for the consumer. So that's another big factor that we have to consider when we think of the future.
Rightly said, Abhijit. And it's an evolving arena where even the regulators are reshaping regulations as the models come out. So thanks for that, Abhijit. So great insights shared. To further build on that, Abhijit, since you mentioned customer experience, so what are your views on how generative AI is contributing particularly to personalized insurance products and services that we see today, ultimately enhancing the customer experience in insurance industry?
I love that question. As a person with background in product management and marketing, right? So
Yeah.
I will start with one thing I always do when I think of these things is create a persona for all the listeners so that they can relate to what I am saying, and I'll keep using some of these personas. I will introduce more personas later on in the questions, but let's call somebody named Max. Max is a middle-aged person living a full life, having a job, having a family, focusing on himself and his family and what is important to him. And he has to interact with these complex financial products called insurance, health insurance, life insurance, P&C, liability insurance, umbrella insurance, all of these things. And right now, the experience is different, but what we are saying is Max is not right now. Max is interacting with these insurance products 10 years into the future. And that's how I want you to think about Max. So let's talk about what Max wants. Right now, Max is a demographic. Most of the pricing that he or she receives is based on what demographic they fall into, right?
Yeah.
But in future, he's going to be wearing wearables. His car is going to be intelligent. His Tesla is going to record his driving patterns. His Apple Watch is going to be sending his health metrics to his insurer. He would expect that the pricing of the products he's receiving is based on his lifestyle and his activities. And I feel more and more insurers, and it doesn't matter which part of insurance industry you would start seeing that more personalized products, more personalized pricing will be the norm, right? And that could be in terms of the base policy pricing, that could be in form of further discounts and rewards that you get for actually kind of going into some things or doing certain life activities. The other thing is, as AI transforms, there will be a lot of focus on not detect and repair, which is what it is currently, but predict and protect. So if I am able to predict and protect that, oh, you know what, Max is going through something. He's all of a sudden started driving rash. For some reason, he's taking an like more aggressive stance on how he is driving, or the activities he stopped doing his, he stopped playing sports. Maybe he's injured. Maybe he has had a life event. I can basically predict what could be his next action and maybe interact with him to see if this is something that mental wellness could help with. Does he need help with an expert so that we can bring him back to the profile that we helped for, right? So there could be dynamic policy adjustments based on how a client is going through their life, and basically course correction also to kind of keep our best interest, but also our clients' best interest in mind, to keep them less risk profile, right? Does Max want to spend 20 to 30 minutes waiting in a queue to get his questions answered? Right? I don't think so. I had a if I had a claim today, and I want to just know, like, if I am in this particular scenario, like, right, I'm buying a house and I get like type A coverage, type B coverage, type C coverage. I have no idea what this is and what should be a good coverage. The agent is telling me something. My friends are telling me something different. Oh, you only need like 200K of coverage. My policy, my association has. So Max has this complicated set of data in his mindset, and he really does not have a clear way to objectively decide, right? Is money more important? Is risk coverage more important? And having access to AI driven chatbots, agents, can help Max make that decision and trust that decision, because it's a database decision, rather than decision or direction coming from somebody who may not have Max's most important decisions in mind, right?
Sure.
So
Thanks.
yeah, I'll take a pause here, but that's how I see the insurance industry progressing and shaping up as a future AI products and services.
You rightly said, Abhijit, predict and protect. So, Sri Adnan, if you can weigh in on that, how GenAI is contributing to personalized insurance products and what you see ultimately enhancing the customer experience.
I mean, from my opinion, the way I see the industry is trending towards is, data is becoming the most important commodity than oil these days. Like every company, no matter in which domain they are operating as a data company, collecting as many information as possible. Given this, from an insurance perspective, it is super beneficial to create, plus one to Abhijit's insights on the UX. Uh, it's easy to curate a personalized experience, rather than there was a time where you created chatbots with specific menu style way of conversation. Now it is more natural language, and the model understands the semantics, and for an elderly person who is not acquainted with technology, these things are going to be a great resource, from making things super simple and easy. And with all the boundary conditions set in, I think conversational space is getting transformed by AI, if not
Yeah.
for anything else. And also, um, document interaction. There used to be a time where you are given like 200-page document and said, I consent. Right now you can ask specific questions, and you don't have to spend the whole time reading uh, the verbosity of the document. Rather, just
Mm.
converse what is the liability. It can summarize it for you, and based on you can make a more mature data driven decision these days. So these are all the observations, at a 10,000 foot overview, that organizations are actually tapping on to create that user experience with AI today.
Adnan?
Yeah, and I think very, very well said both by Abhijit and Shri, and not a lot of is left unsaid, but I'll just kind of double down on the points made both by Abhijit and Shri. I think Abhijit really talked about hyper segmentation and the ability that we have with all this data that Shri talked about to really create hyper segmentation, come down to potentially n of one, and create those personalized experiences. That ability is very real these days. And the other thing I think which is different from traditional AI, that Gen AI is different from traditional AI, is the ease of use. Is its natural language response makes it so much easier to use, which is why we saw that massive adoption of something like ChatGPT, right? Like nothing ever came to that level of adoption because of its ease of use. So I think ease of use, and then lots of use cases with hypersegmentation where the level of personalization that no other technology has offered us so far.
A great insight. And as we talk about those personalized experiences companies, insurance companies are offering to their customers, how Gen AI handles the balance between automation and need for human oversight as we talk about human in the loop? So what are the ethical considerations when using AI to set premiums or determine coverage? If we can talk about that.
Yeah, I'll
Abhijit.
start. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll start. So the way I look at it, right, AI is going to be always good at, and I think Shri mentioned this, or maybe Adnan did,
Yeah.
that these are assisting technologies. These are not technologies that will replace. But a knowledge worker has a lot of manual tasks that will eventually start getting automated, right? Data processing, document processing, underwritings, managing some of the claims, call directions. All of this is likely going to get automated, but you would always look to a human when there is decision making required, when there is judgment required, when there is a transparency required around why a certain decision was taken. If I am denied a claim in future, Max would like to know and would like to understand. And right now, I think there is less transparency than there should be why they were denied a claim. If Max receives some kind of pricing, they would like to know why they have received the pricing and how their lifestyle and actions came into picture when a certain pricing was done. Right. So that's
That's
where I think yeah, that's where I think the human element is going to be very relevant. Sorry, Vijay, you were saying something.
Yeah, that's good. That's right. Rightly strikes where the human in the loop comes in as we see all these technologies coming in, and the right balance has to be struck, be there. So Adnan and Shri, if you can share your thoughts on this particular topic, which is, I think, very essential for the community to know, as there's always a
I
fear
let
that losing jobs. Yeah.
yeah, I let Adnan go right now. I don't want him to
Yeah.
summarize and miss his thunder on sharing his thoughts. Go ahead,
Yeah.
Adnan.
Yeah, no, thanks a lot, Shri. I think Abhijit has said it right, and I've heard about AI, Gen AI being referred in this way, and I really liked it. Is you think about Gen AI, and it has a lot of knowledge, right? It's a lot of theoretical knowledge. These models are trained on enormous amounts of information, so it's almost like somebody who has a lot of theoretical knowledge but not as much experience. Like these models have only been around for that much. So you think about and that's really not natural for us to think in the normal world, right? Like knowledge comes with experience is kind of how you think. But think about a situation where you have a lot of knowledge but not as much experience, and what can that lead to? I mean, that can lead to incorrect decisions. It can lead to bias, all the things that
Yeah.
Abhijit kind of talked about. But this, it really helped me kind of wrap my head around it when I heard it, somebody talk about it in this way, is like a lot of knowledge, not as much experience. And that's where I think the human
Yeah.
element really comes in, is we have to take advantage of this lots of knowledge, but we have to balance it with the experience of the human element, to make sure that decisions are not just being made out of data. Maybe think about society at large, and imagine a world where majority rules all the time, and data is what makes all the decisions. And imagine all the situations where we can make wrong decisions. Society at large, right? Majority cannot make all the decisions, right? We have to protect the rights of everyone. Everyone is equal, and I think that's where the human really comes in. Things like bias and all, I'm sure we'll get a little deeper into that, but
Yeah.
that is an element we cannot ignore, and the human element really needs to play a role. Shri, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. So Adnan, on that, yeah, Shri, yes, sir.
Yeah. Just a couple of thoughts, right? Uh, I really loved how Adnan kind of gave an analogy of model having a lot of corpus of knowledge. But again, everybody, including the attendees here, might know that generative AI is non-deterministic. So having said, it's like you having a book of knowledge right with you, but unless you know which page to look at, you're not going to get the right information. That's the prompt aspect of it. So having said, human in the loop tries to fix that gap, but still it will introduce a human error. Somebody rightly said, now the world's most powerful programming language is English. It's no longer Java or Python. So having said, there is this corpus of information that's available at the drop of the hat. How am I going to tap it will make the key difference between having that strategic competitive edge in this current marketplace, is what I feel. So human in the loop is not like an afterthought. When you talk
Yeah.
about Gen AI, human in the loop is front and center on how you use it. And the better the human who knows to operate that corpus of knowledge, the better the outcome going to be.
Yeah. This is great. And Adnan, coming back to you, in the beginning, you mentioned about summarization and chat bots and AI. So generative AI is playing a key role in capturing those customer sentiments and behavior. So if you can share lights on how these particularly chat bots, AI assistants are helping service reps respond to any client queries. And if you can, and if we look ahead, that's what we are looking at the future. What does the future hold, especially with the growing career information corpus you talked about? So if you can talk more in detail about that and share your views.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think I see two distinct class of use cases when it comes to something like this. So
Mhm.
chatbots, virtual assistants, you know, so chatbots getting directly exposed to end consumers is, I think, we're still more in the exploratory stage because of all the risks and all the things that we just talked about, right?
Yeah.
Is that we have to find the right balance to get the balance right to directly expose it to the end consumer. There are definitely use cases where we feel confident to expose it directly to the end consumer, but where it has tremendous potential is really exposing this Q&A style GPT type of experiences that are trained on the very specific context uh, to our CSR. So imagine an underwriting GPT that is trained and fine-tuned on your organization's underwriting standards, your organization's product variations. And now imagine taking calls, and now you have access to that where you can ask very specific underwriting questions, limits, things like that. So I think a lot of use cases are being tried out in that space where CSRs, whether it be underwriting, servicing, claims, where GPTs are fine-tuned to those trained specifically on your organization specifics, which are increasing productivity and efficiency for your CSR. So a lot of use cases there. Again, I talked a little bit about placing the technology next to the knowledge worker as opposed to in place of the knowledge worker, right? So a lot of use cases that are still placing this technology next to the knowledge worker. So that is one large use case.
Yeah.
The other use case really is more to use this technology to speed up your analysis for around all the interactions that we are having, and then use that analysis back to improve that service. And what I mean by that is, you think about any interaction that a company is having with its customers, that is not through the digital channels. So you're having phone calls, you're receiving and sending emails, and our ability to truly understanding what is that experience. Was that experience a good experience? Why are these thousands of calls coming into our call center when we actually have a portal, and things like that, right? All of those questions where you need to increase and improve your understanding of your experiences, is where GenAI is really helping to speed up that analysis. Previously we would have to hand build NLP models to really understand, like, why are we getting these calls? Like, did the sentiment end up being positive or negative? Use that to create training material for your call center reps and all. But I think that's the other place where something like a GenAI can really speed up that analysis and create scale for you. Now we can, with the use of GenAI summarization and synthesis, we can potentially analyze every call and understand really what is going on. Why am I still getting calls to receive
Yeah.
status of payments when we already have a digital portal? Like, why aren't people going there? So it's really increasing your scale of analysis, improving the quality of your analysis, and then take that learning back into improving your digital experiences is the other use case. So those are two large use cases that I think GenAI has a lot of potential, um, that
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of action in.
Yeah. Yeah, you rightly said it's not only increasing the efficiency, but utilizing those insights, what and predicting what we can, how we can utilize for future. And I'll leave it for Abhijit Sri if you have anything to weigh on that, how chatbots and AI are
Yeah,
assisting.
I have few thoughts around that. Just seeing on how it is being adopted. Normally people have this misunderstanding in terms of customer service or call centers, as in how many representatives are handling the customers on the other side. Normally it's like 1:100, and the small team of customer service reps, they do the magic of ensuring that the customers needs are met without losing the brand reputation or whatnot in certain cases. So with GenAI in the mix, it assists these reps to create this fluidic personal experience, right? How many
Yeah.
times you explain everything to a representative just to see the call dropping off, and you call and you have to repeat the same thing again to another representative. Gone are those days now. There is a fluidic experience. The GenAI not only records the conversation, summarizes it, keeps it up to date, creates the underlying tickets or incidents to the right team. So agnostic of who's picking up the phone on the other side, now a customer has this organic experience of, this is my concern and this is what, I need to get this addressed. And for the first time, the call center side of the world can see it in a unified view. And there are variations in precision and accuracy with which organizations deliver, but just the aspect of it is something that's fascinating. It's almost like a hive mind, if you think, rather than you wanting to explain your case, especially when you are in the lowest of emotions. You got to do that more. All those things are now, baseline to a normal, mature human conversation, which I'm personally excited about.
Yeah,
Abhijit.
Vijay, I will start with just sharing data that I read in Gartner, right? That in next couple of years, 60% of AI, conversational AI, is going to have proactive intelligence. That number was less than 5% in 2023. So imagine the evolution, like this chat AI part of the conversational AI part of generational AI is having, right? It's not a insurance industry specific, but still a 60% improvement in intelligence is a big deal in a few hours. I also wanted to kind of introduce a new persona because I wanted to talk about a very specific experience, a persona called Kai, who is a knowledge worker who is trying to help our client Max when they call in, right? Now, Kai is trying to understand how best to support Max and answer their questions, but also kind of understand the tone of Max, what is their current state of mind, and respond accordingly, because Kai may not have all the answers, right? So I think Shri and Adnan covered pretty much everything. I wanted to emphasize this customer sentiment part of the dialogue that happens between a service rep and a customer, right? Where
Very important.
understanding the customer sentiment is often very difficult and subjective. Now, with the help of AI, as the conversation is happening either through text or through a voice, the customer sentiment can be flagged back to Kai, and Kai now knows what to do based on the sentiment. Is it appropriate to kind of go in a certain direction? Is it appropriate, like if the customer sentiment is upbeat, maybe give them another option, sell them another service? So it opens up the overall experience for both the customer service representative. They can do their job better, but also understanding the conversations better. So I just wanted to highlight that portion of it.
Thanks. Thank you for introducing Kai. And it's good that you talked about capturing those customer sentiments. And we see most of the frustrations are when there's a claim processing. So, Abhijit, to you, how is this evolving landscape of claims processing in particular influencing the overall user experience? Additionally, what key considerations should insurers keep in mind when implementing Gen AI models for claims and premium calculations?
Yeah, so I will start with again painting a futuristic futuristic scenario, which will probably be a goal for most insurance companies. Hopefully we get there, but it will be awesome if we get there, right? So in future, let's say Max gets into an accident, right? Now he's on his app. In future, taking a picture is kind of old school. So he's streaming a video back to his insurance provider of his car on while the streaming is happening, the the appraiser, the AI appraiser is already giving an estimate of here is how the damage is looking, right?
Wow.
and here is how the damage would be, here is what we estimate the damage could be, and there is always going to be a human person who reviews it and then eventually says, yes, this is where we would be. But at least Max really knows what he's in for, right? Instead of waiting another 3 days, 4 weeks sometimes to get an adjuster in, he knows the next steps. His claim process gets that much faster, that much smoother if it is, run of the mill fender bender, for example. So I definitely feel that in future the claims process is going to be accelerated and much more um pleasant for both the claim service provider as well as the customer, Max, who is actually going through the, because it's usually when you are filing a claim, it is a stressful time, right?
Yes.
You are emotional, and by making these things easy, because he's just taking a video, is not thinking about, okay, should I take picture from this angle or that angle, and have I taken all the pictures? It will make life easier. So that's kind of the experience I picture myself in the future with Gen AI. I think we are a long way before we get there. And I think the second part of the question is like, what do we need to think about? Like, if we are the insurers, what do we need to think about? I think two things that will define how we get to this goal, a future goal, is data quality, right? Getting data is probably easy, then having data quality, getting the right kind of partners to give us external data, basically RAG data to inform our models, is going to be as important as understanding what regulations are evolving. How are we kind of adhering to those regulations in our own AI journey to give this kind of experience to the customer?
Great, great. Adnan, Sri, if you have more to add on, I know it was very descriptive by Abhijit. So,
I mean, Abhijit kind of covered almost everything that I had in my mind. I couldn't have said it any better. But just from the what insurers should look for, your second part of the question in terms of AI involving in claim is, with Gen AI broadly being adopted by the public, even the images could be generated. So the along with all the summarization and stuff, now there are new guardrails that insurance, the claim adjudicators needs to put in to first check the authenticity of the image or the proofs that they are getting in. It's easy for me to now create those fake bundle of documents to file a claim. So I really do not know how insurance world is currently handling it, because my expertise is not towards that. But I think I'd be super interested to see a common framework being developed to protect all the businesses, especially from there are genuine customers and there are threat actors. You need to constantly balance both of them, in this space.
Good point, Sri.
Earlier this session, we did address that that's regulatory space is also evolving as we see all this happening. So rightly said, Sri. Adnan, if you have something to weigh more on what Abhijit and Sri just mentioned about claim processing and future.
I think she said it right. Like Abhijit really covered it well. I think the only comment I'll make is there are opportunities on both sides of the house, right? So the Mac side of the house and the Kai side of the house, like it helps customers get more guided experiences, and then at this point probably a lot more opportunity on the Kai side of the house is like, which is on the carrier side of the house. As much as technology is making an improvement, and I think a lot of that is showing up in the property casualty claim side, but you look at the life side, right? Life insurance claim, disability insurance claim, long-term care claims. There is a lot of paper going back and forth. There is a lot of forms being used. I mean, I can tell you that in our place we have more than 800 different types of forms that we use for claims, distinct types of forms. And the ability to actually digitize all of those experiences and the investment you need to make that can be cost prohibitive. So, Gen AI and the summary synthesis can really act as a interventional technology to create a lot of speed and scale of analysis through that. And I think we'll talk a little bit more in depth on that as we go through this. But just wanted to kind of stress, we have opportunities on both sides of the house, and that's really how we should look at it.
Thanks, Don. And you've given us a lot to think about. So let's shift focus on a little bit on Shri. You mentioned about deterministic and non-deterministic behavior. So we see that strategies are key to building the robust user-friendly systems. So how do you strike the right balance between those non-deterministic and deterministic behavior in your application workflows, just to make sure we have enough flexibility and reliability?
The answer might look cheesy, but we are living in a world where glue stick as a label, do not eat this. So having said, the first aspect I would say is identifying the right use cases. So GenAI is not like one size fits all, and even like I said, we are riding on the top of the hype curve, and people are trying to experiment on what I can do with GenAI. Right now, there used to be a purpose-built tool for a problem. Right now, we have the tool. We are looking for problems now. So having said, creating a work segment in your architecture is very important. For example, from an insurance context, would I put GenAI in premium calculation workflow? Definitely not, because it's not going to give me the expected result in a deterministic way. But GenAI can be a great asset in summarization or conversational use cases for an end user. So the first aspect of it is to segregate your workflow between these two things. What part of my workflow needs predictability? So in those places, I would not put GenAI. And what part of my workflow would need flexibility, or it could evolve with a broader, less constrained flow? GenAI could be a workflow over there. And second one, which I really loved, and I was in a recent GenAI conference wherein Intuit provided their use case on how they are building their GenAI use cases. It's called controlled non-determinism, which is beautiful if you think about it. Through prompting, you give the guardrails or boundary conditions to your model. Intuit made a beautiful point over there. They tell their chatbot to say that be accurate but not arrogant. So you create a boundary condition for the NLP model to play around. You're not exactly telling it how to answer. You're just telling it these are the boundary conditions you need to operate in. So that is the second thing. Through prompting techniques like few shots prompting, you cannot fine-tune a model for all the use cases. You can create a systemic prompt before you open the model for user through your 0-shot, 1-shot, or few-shot prompting, saying that this is your behavioral boundary conditions, behave in this way. So that is something which should really help to make your model more compatible for your use cases. The next one, which I normally like about, is the human in the loop mechanism. Right now, even from an information security standpoint, from my experience, I come in as an architect. When I present my architecture to other stakeholders, one of the key stakeholders in all organizations are cybersecurity and information security, and they wanted to ensure that if I have to approve something that can hallucinate, it rather hallucinate before it goes to production. It hallucinate before a human who can catch that and determine whether it's acceptable or not. So second thing is now modifying your application or your GenAI workflow to human in the loop way of saying that is this within your tolerance, within the threshold of acceptable criteria, and then you build on top of it. So these are all the few things that I have personally learned through my networks and the little articles that I get to read during my commute to work. But still, again, this is not just that. There are so many approaches, but this is just my thought about it.
Oh, great. Since you mentioned about deterministic and non-deterministic behavior, I knew that community would be interested, especially the one who work with the architecture and frameworks. So thanks for sharing your thoughts on that. I have a question for Adnan. In generative AI, as we enhance the accuracy and efficiency of risk assessment, and you mentioned about underwriting as we see a lot of Gen AI being used. So what are the ways generative AI is enhancing the accuracy and efficiency of risk assessment when you talk about underwriting in insurance industry?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think as I had started, right, I think the use of traditional AI in underwriting, we've been doing that for a while, like having straight through processing
Yeah.
models for assessing risk and assessing multiple dimensions of data for simpler products. I think has been done for a while now. And when I say simpler products, property casualty auto probably in the retail segment. You think about life, maybe simpler term products within certain limits. So I think companies have been building straight through processing for underwriting for simpler products using traditional AI for a while. The use of Gen AI in underwriting is still largely on aggregating, summarizing, preparing data, and making the role of the underwriter a little more easier. There is still, like, if I talk about life insurance, we talk about medical records that will run into tens of pages to hundreds of pages. You talk about blood work, and all of that, those data points. So an underwriter is reviewing multiple sources of information and trying to staying within underwriting guidelines and try and make the best decision. And the role of Gen AI, where Gen AI can really make an impact, and this is not just in underwriting but claims as well, is comes back to summarization and synthesis. And a lot of use cases on the life side, medical information summarization. You go to property casualty side, especially on the commercial side, where you can have property in multiple locations. you know Commercial side is a lot of like smaller, bigger contracts and a lot more customized, as opposed to individual auto property, auto or property insurance. So commercial side has a lot of use cases for summarization and presentation of data, and that's where I feel like Gen AI can make a lot of impact and really increase the efficiency of the knowledge worker. We still require the underwriters to come in and bring that human touch for complex financial products, for complex large commercial products. But creating efficiency for these knowledge workers through summarization and synthesis, tremendous opportunity there.
Adnan, while I have you on the same topic, you did mention on the auto call summary and how AI powered solution is summarizing those phone calls. So could you elaborate on how we can utilize the combination of IOCR and generative AI to distill lengthy medical records or other records that you see to a concise summary?
Yeah, and I think so two distinct use cases here, right? Auto call summarization, and I think we've talked a little bit about that in the past, like right in this conversation. Um, the one thing I'll say is, how many of us who have experience of working in, let's say, or looking at CSR operations and the reports that come out of that, and getting frustrated at 35% of the calls are other, um, and I'm guessing that's pretty normal. Like, I know when we look at our call center analysis data and see 35% of the calls are noted as other. I mean, that's where I think a Gen AI or AI powered solution can really intercept. Like, what we can do is, and we've talked a little bit about this, is each and every call can be summarized, and Gen AI can provide at scale a much greater accuracy of the disposition of the call, the nature of the call, and how it ended. So that's really, goes to your auto call summarization. So improve the operations and experience for our call center. Coming to medical record summarization, I kind of just touched upon that, right? There is still a lot of medical records that are on paper, uh, and not just on paper. It's still a lot of medical information that doctors are writing by hand, and claims adjusters or underwriters spending time going through tens of hundreds of pages summarizing those records by hand, or companies use third party BPO providers and pay up to $25 per document, something like that, right, to summarize that information. And that's another opportunity for GenAI, where GenAI can intercept those documents, create summaries for underwriters, still very much, human making the decision, but summarize. And now the ability to do that at scale with relatively high accuracy um, is what can give us a lot of benefit for those operations.
A fantastic perspective. So let's look at the another angle on prompt engineering. And Sri, since you come with that experience on frameworks, architecture, so how is prompt engineering playing a crucial role in making those effective generative AI, particularly when we utilize those LLMs, language models? Can you talk
Yeah,
about
again,
that importance of prompt
absolutely.
engineering?
Starting with what Adnan kind of said earlier, if Gen AI model is this corpus of knowledge, then prompting is the only interface through which you are going to tap into it. So prompt engineering is that important, in my opinion. Like I said, a prompt can help you direct the model behavior, right? Model has corpus of information. I can get a more generalized response or a personalized response. Everything is controlled through your prompt. For example, when you have trained your model for a specific business use case, you can control how accurately it responds to specific customers versus generalization. For me, the prompt engineering is your 101 of using Gen AI. So it is not just for the engineers who or the data scientists who interact with it, is for every single person uh, who use Gen AI technology in their particular workflow. And currently, there are many sources out there like promptengineering.org, or there are many books out there that teaches you, and then there are evolving techniques. It's not just the old 14. I think there are like 75, 80 techniques, prompt engineering techniques that are out there today. Each are skilled in, say, like chain of thoughts. You slowly teach the model on how to rationalize a question and provide a judgment, and then you can make the model uh, what do they call it? It's called explainability of a model. Today model is considered as a black box. We don't know why it gave a response, what were the key points that it used to generate that particular response. So through your prompt engineering, you can actually make the model spit out, give me a step-by-step reasoning for your inference. So model will say, based on your query, this is the word I took it, this is where I went in. So the chain of thought. From an auditing standpoint, it becomes transparent. From a training standpoint, now you understand how your model is putting its weight for activators under its neural network to flow through the ebbs and flows of its knowledge corpus underneath to provide you the response. So it's that important, and it's
Uh,
not complex. It's not just for engineers. Anybody can learn.
no, that's awesome. And we did talk about the carrier information corpus and amount of data that for more accurate risk assessment, pricing, underwriting we see insurance companies are utilizing. So, Abhijit, if you can talk about what specific data sources does GenAI leverage to enhance these models, and how do you ensure that privacy and security when using GenAI?
I think in a futuristic world, the data sources are going to be varied uh, from from your wearable devices to your IoT devices to cars, and all of those data can be leveraged. I think what is important is that the insurance companies have collaborations and partnerships with EMRs and EHRs, which is like employee health records, which I think Adnan mentioned a little while ago, employee medical records, and other data providers that helps build on the data they already have, helps build their data quality. And that will, the data quality basically ends up driving, because an LLM model is as good as the data it inputs, right? Garbage in, garbage out. So if you really want to get something out of the data, you have to have very high confidence in the data that is being processed by your LLM. So finding the right collaborators, finding the right partnerships is going to be extremely important in the future to kind of keep enhancing uh, and enriching your data with the right kind of information so you can get better outcomes. I'm not sure if I answered all the questions you asked, Vijay, but if I
No.
missed something, let me know.
Now, if Shri, Adnan, you have more to add to that. We're talking about data sources, GenAI has to leverage enhanced models. If not, we can move to the other question. I know.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a subjective question, in my opinion, Vijay. I was
Yeah.
just responding to that question on the Q&A because it's like it depends on line of insurance, the vendor you're relying on, trusting the data source from. So there's a lot of variables in there, and to put that in a box, I think it would be just a perspective, not a generalized answer.
Yeah, Shri. So we do see how important are these collaborations in the insurance vertical industry, that collaborations and partnerships among different stakeholders in the insurance ecosystem. So if you can talk about that, we're talking about insurance companies, policyholders, agents, brokers. So talk about the collaboration and partnerships that's important to ultimately drive those Gen AI solutions and see the tech advancements that we really talked about. And it's open for Abhijit, Sri, Adnan, if you have anything to talk about.
I mean,
that.
I think Gen AI, we are in this phase in the world wherein, Henry Ford's famous quote, why did you make a car? If I asked people what they want, they would have said a healthier horse. So Gen AI we are in that kind of phase. Today, when I personally speak with people on, how Gen AI can help you, people often refrain from it for the lack of understanding on what it offers, or for the fear they have on whether it would replace their particular role, whatever be it. Right now, there is a taboo in my personal opinion in terms of creating a collaboration on how the entire organization can jump in on the Gen AI opportunity, unless the culture of an organization is such that people do that organically. So when they do it, I think the opportunities are endless here. Every stakeholder have a say in that business flow. They have their concerns and they have their metrics to measure their success for their BU. So putting them all together, you can create a beautiful synergic Gen AI powered workflow and satisfying all the stakeholder concerns in the relevant workflow. And I mean, that's happening. I'm seeing that the adoption is getting better compared to last year. But I think we are too far from saying that, hey, everybody's enthusiastic about Gen AI. I think that should still come.
To
Right.
add to what
And
Srini just mentioned, Vijay,
Yeah.
right? I think one collaboration that needs to start happening, if it's not already, is collaborating with the regulators. The regulatory scene is still evolving. And as we start collaborating with them and be ahead of the problem, I think it will end in better outcome for insurance companies.
I know.
Yeah, I think one thing that maybe final comment I'll make, and I'll go back to what Shri said, that especially relevant for Gen AI because this is non-deterministic, right? So there is randomness here. How do we take advantage of something this powerful, but is still non-deterministic, right? And I think assessing risk, identifying the nature and sources of risk, and then putting together a multidisciplinary team that can speak to those sources of risk. Like risk can be a risk of information security, so make sure your information risk team is part of the conversation. Risk can be wrong decisions leading to overpayment, so make sure your product line leaders and people who are responsible for that are part of the conversation. Or risk can be a risk of wrong decision, which could be a reputational risk, and make sure your legal teams are part of the conversation. So I think we can tap into this tremendous power as long as we create the right layer that can manage this risk. And this is everybody's responsibility, technical teams, legal teams, business teams, all coming together to create this framework where we can manage this risk. Human in the loop plays a key role. But there's great potential of tapping into this powerful technology.
And also, just to add one more thought, rather than just sharing the problem, what Google suggests is every organization should adopt Gen AI as a center of excellence, rather than get another new technology onboarded to their enterprise architecture arsenal. So you create a center of excellence, put it on top of your cloud center of excellence, and see how Gen AI can branch out horizontally, identifying opportunities within the organization. So it is more of a pep talk to all business stakeholders to say, like, you are doing your work this way today. Gen AI can cut it by X percentage if you're gonna, invest on this particular model or approach. So Google is kind of promoting that approach. So whoever is interested, kind of, you can read more on that article and see how you want to adopt Gen AI in your
Yeah.
respective teams, and get the value out of it.
And I know we are getting close to our end of our time today, and I want to be sensitive to everyone, just not only panelists, but attendees. So maybe we can wrap this with any last thoughts and closing comments, starting with you guys.
To
Yeah, maybe
me,
I can.
to me, I'm sorry. Yeah, please. Sorry, Adnan. I
Go
didn't
ahead, Shri.
hear.
Yeah, go ahead.
I
Yeah,
just
go
wanted
ahead.
to thank the attendees. They don't have to be here, but still they are here to hear us sharing our personal opinion on this particular topic. So again, it is that much interesting. The questions, the collaboration. For me, more than the question, the experience is surreal. This is the need of the hour. We need to speak with industry experts. We need to share that knowledge. Knowledge needs to be democratized, than monopolied. So thank you very much for putting this together. And thanks for the excellent question, Vijay. Uh, to me, this is just the beginning for Gen AI. I think we'll have more evolution in a rapid way, exponential way in the coming months. I think the format of the questions would change drastically, I believe, in the coming months. But again, that's my thought again. Thank you very much for that.
Adnan.
Yeah, no, I want to kind of second what Sri just said. So thanks a lot for this forum. I have maybe like two thoughts I want to end with. I think the first thought is that let's not look at Gen AI as a silver bullet that will solve all our problems. It is one more tool in our toolkit that, when combined together, can create awesome results. So just think of it as, oh, one more tool in the toolkit. You combine it with traditional AI, combine it with process orchestration and things like that. uh, we can create some awesome results. So that is kind of number one. The other is, I think, going back to the fear is like, oh, this place is here to take, this thing is here to take our jobs. um, and which I think is not the case, right? It's this technology is really to make humans more human, really, is how I think about it. Is think about all the repetitive work that people in the insurance industry, for example, are doing, looking at documents and summarizing them, going through phone calls and seeing really what happened, and all of those things, right? And this technology can actually eliminate repetitive, boring work and give people the time to be humans, and really now have the time to really connect with your clients, to really understand what's happening and make the best human decision. So to me, it's not about eliminating the human, but it's really elevating the human, to take redundancy out of your day-to-day work. And that's where I see a lot of the power of this technology.
Over to you, Abhijit.
And Adnan, thanks for bringing the human element, and that's where I wanted to end as well. So I'll just add to what Adnan just said, right? I think in future, if the question is, will there be displacement of jobs? I think we would be naive as leaders to think there won't be. Any productivity gain results in it, but it is also on us as leaders to look at that and empower our workforce, reskill our workforce, upskill our workforce to start using these amazing tools that are coming in, so that that displacement, the impact of displacement doesn't hurt, right? And then the people can start using these tools to be more productive, to be better value to the business as well as to the customer. And that's basically it. Thank you all the panel members. I think I learned a lot from all of you guys. Vijay, thank you for kind of moderating the discussion, and Nitin and Adnan, thank you for hosting the conference. Very, very helpful. I definitely learned a lot, which was
Right,
Adnan's
exactly.
framework, Sri, your point of view on deterministic, non-deterministic, eye-opening for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Abhijit, and thank you, Adnan, Shri. So this session has been very informative for me as well personally, and thank you all for offering such valuable insights. Before I turn it over to Nitin, I do see there was some Q&A, and we utilized the time. This has happened first time that all questions were answered by our panelists while we were going through the webinar. So over to you, Nitin.
Thank you. Thank you. So yeah, all the questions were answered and we had a great webinar. So we would like to express our appreciation to all our community partners who have been with us throughout the journey, our distinguished speakers, Shri, Adnan, Abhijit, who came and gave your time for this, and moderator Vijay for handling all the things from beginning till end. And last to all the attendees as well who engaged in this forum. And I'm sure it has created a space for knowledge enrichment, which you can look at when you go back as well. Our panel members were outstanding, and we thanks a lot for willingness to collaborate and share the invaluable insights. In case any of you joined late or missed any part of the session and want to revisit it, today's event will be available on our company's YouTube page for your convenience. Exciting technological advancements are there, and we are thrilled to explore more in the coming months and the coming year as well. So looking ahead, we have a diverse lineup this year, focusing on sectors such as banking, financial, insurance, telecom, retail, healthcare, supply chain, and much more. So stay connected with us for this continuous learning. For more technological updates, visit our website, aicorespot.io, and social media channels. We'll be sharing a wealth of knowledge, including details, announcements for our upcoming events, and much more, which will aid you in getting the registration done. We look forward to your support. Please like and share our content on the social media channels. A heartfelt thanks to InfoVision, who is our knowledge and innovation partner, and Digit7, who is our technology partner. Explore their websites at infovision.com to delve deeper into technological advancements. We thoroughly enjoyed bringing this session to you and hope you all found it as enjoyable as we did. We eagerly anticipate more sessions with you all in the near future as well. So take care and have a great day and year ahead. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank
Have a
you.
good one.